Bay. Like, he really has a lot to prove. So I just don't think he's going to go out that easily. So moving on to Sunday, our first afternoon game is the Baltimore Ravens, current ranking 11-5, versus the Tennessee Titans, also with a current ranking of 11-5. So Nolan, who do you think is going to win and why?
I'm going to take Baltimore. Guys, I have faith in them this year. And we think of last year, they were the best team in football. Everyone thought they were going to the Super Bowl or it's going to be them or Kansas City. And they laid an egg. They got trounced in that game by Derrick Henry. And, basically they had to rely on Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. Guess what? It's going to be the same thing. They're going to have to rely on Lamar Jackson to throw the ball. But this time around, the Titans secondary sucks. So I think they actually have a pretty good shot of winning this football game. I mentioned it when we've talked before, guys. Mark Ingram, he was banged up in that last postseason game. He's healthy, but now you have J.K. Dobbins, who is a way more explosive player and can do a lot more on the football field. It's going to be high scoring. It's going to be probably – I wouldn't be surprised if we see 200 rushing yards for both teams, right? Derrick Henry's been that good. But I just think whoever gets the lead first – is going to hold on to it. Baltimore's not, meant to play from behind. We've talked about that so many times. But this Titans defense is, much worse than they were last year. If Baltimore can get up 13, 14 points, it's over. I'm going with Baltimore this time. Lamar Jackson gets that patented playoff win.
So, Nolan, I like a lot of what you said, and I think a lot of that applies to both teams, especially on the offensive side. These guys are so similar. They love to run the ball first, and then next thing you know, they'll come with a play-action pass or a nice little pass or something just to switch it up. But they love to use their running back, especially with Derrick Henry, especially with J.K. Dobbins. And then look at Baltimore, you also got a quarterback who can run the ball, which is crazy. Thing is, when I look at both these teams and I switch back their roles, there's one thing that just doesn't fit, and it's the defense. You can't switch the defense for these two teams because that Baltimore defense – my, oh my, these guys are crazy out there. I think they've been a top 3 defense all season, been playing hard, especially whenever it's on the pass, and they've been shutting down the run. I love what Patrick Queen's been doing out there. You have Marlon Humphrey on the outside and Marcus Peters on the other side. That's a dangerous tandem right there to throw the ball to for any quarterback. And if you're sitting back as Ryan Tannehill and these guys get back in the game where Ryan Tannehill has to pass it 50 times, like you said, for Lamar, I think it could be the same type of reaction, like interceptions here, and the game just doesn't go that way. So if I'm sitting back looking at everything, if I take that defense of Baltimore into advantage and say this is the point that really matters, I think then it's going to be a point for Baltimore to make sure they get a lead and get out in front and maintain themselves. If Baltimore can do that and get up by maybe 1 or 2 scores, very similar to last year, what the Titans did to them. If that happens, I think there's no way that Baltimore loses this game. They just keep moving forward. But if Tennessee, on the other hand, does the same thing, we got that same outcome. Tennessee's going to win the game. So saying that, whoever can get ahead in this game first, whoever can get that first score, I think they're going to be the ones to win this game. But I just look at Baltimore, and I think these guys are hungry right now. They had to win all their games to get to this playoff spot and even get here. So they've been winning. And I think on top of that right now, they have a chip on their shoulder. They want to prove something to this team that they didn't beat last year. They want to come out and say, you know what, last year was a joke. This year, this is seriously us. We're going to knock you guys off. And, hey, everybody loves a revenge tour. So I think Baltimore pulls this one out. I think they're favored right now by 3.5 points on the road, which is huge for them. And that just inspires them to get this job done. So the big storyline is, if the Ravens can out-titan the Titans, there's no reason why they can't win this game. Let's go, Baltimore.
I think both of these teams are meant to play with the lead. They both love to run the football because if, let's just say, the Titans get down, their biggest weapon on offense is Derrick Henry. How much more into the game if you're down by, 14, 17 points? How effective is the run game? And we know Ryan Tannehill, he succeed tremendously from the play action because Derrick Henry's been able to pop off, 5, 6 yards per carry, something crazy like that. But you look at the Ravens, they love doing the same thing as well. J.K. Dobbins, when you hit it spot on, the coach trusts him. He's more explosive than Mark Ingram. I think Mark Ingram was done ever since they put him in the Wildcat on 4th down in New England. He didn't pick it up. That's the most I've seen of Mark Ingram all year. So I think J.K. Dobbins is the clear front runner for this. And Gus Edwards, he's a nice little 1-2 punch too. But of course, you got Lamar. Lamar can run, 40 yards in like 4.3 seconds, something crazy like that. It's going to come down to, I think, who can get the lead first. And if a team needs to come back, what quarterback can get their team back into the game? Do I trust Ryan Tannehill in the 2-minute drill? Not really. Do I trust Lamar Jackson in the 2-minute drill? Not really. But my gut is telling me to go with the Ravens. Even though my head says Titans, because I don't want the Ravens to win. I think the Ravens are going to win this game. I just think they're out for redemption, like all of you guys have been saying. It's been 2 times now, back-to-back years, where the Titans knocked them out when they were a 14-2 team. Lamar Jackson's having an MVP season, and they made him look human. And then this past season, they win in overtime. Derrick Henry runs wild. I just think they're going to have a better game plan. I've come on the show, talked a lot about Don Martindale and how I think he should be a head coaching candidate. I think he's going to dial up a pretty good game plan. It's a talented team. I'm going with the Ravens.
So, something that is interesting, though, is, and I was just doing the math quick. Okay. When we talked about teams to play from behind, and we said, these teams aren't really meant to do it, I was just forgetting. Tennessee played from behind against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are a better defense than the Baltimore Ravens, and nearly beat them. So, I think they outscored them 17-3 in the second half, and Derrick Henry was basically out of the game. So I was wondering, well, what's going to happen if they are playing from behind and they don't use Derrick Henry? Guess what? They barely used him in that second half. He finished the game with 20 carries. We're used to seeing him getting 30-plus. And they nearly did it.
That's a good point.
Steelers. So that could be a big question mark if they end up trailing, and then they're just relying on Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, and Corey Davis. Guess what? They did it against the Steelers. I'm sure they could do it against the Ravens, but I'm still going to take Baltimore.
I'm right there with you guys. I also have this hunch that Baltimore is going to win, simply because even though they've got a great record, they did kind of fall off the wagon a little bit like mid-season. So I think they've kind of got a lot to prove now by winning this game.